webcam. Webcams should be good. Cool.
What's
All right.
up? George looks very concerned.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good. And we
Okay.
are live
Amazing.
in 5
Cool.
right now.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump in here. So in round one, so this has been fun. It's been building, you know, kind of we're coming to the climax here from theatrical terms here. So round one of PPC Battle, of course, was sponsored brand ads, which was cool. And it seems to me like those of us who work in this space 24/7, we are fascinated just as you are. Of course, we're more fascinated. You might be a little more scared, but as far as how quickly it's changing, literally every single week, Amazon says, oh, we're just going to throw in something different or new, plus everything they've got in the pipeline. So we wanted to touch base with, basically kind of touch base with each other and just bring this discussion together for all of you so that you could kind of keep track as far as like what has rolled out in the last year when it comes to the different ad types on Amazon. We've already covered in round one sponsored brand ads. In round two, we covered sponsored display ads and then also demand side platform for those of you who have access to it. I believe that we are all agencies that are authorized to run DSP for clients, and so that's pretty cool, unique positions that we're in there. Today, though, we are going to be talking about politics. No, I'm kidding. Round three is going to be regarding.
Yeah. I gotta go. Actually, no.
Oh, I'm cutting out. Okay. No, sponsored product. Yeah. So sponsored product ads. Obviously, this is kind of the meaty one. This is what a lot of people are using. The way that I usually frame it when I'm talking to students and clients. Is look, you're probably only doing probably 10 to 15% of what Amazon has made available to you from an advertising standpoint. Unfortunately, all your competition is doing the exact same 10 to 15%. It's one of the reasons why it's so expensive for you. So we need to get you to level up. So part of that is opening up with this discussion. Obviously, the whole point of this too is to obviously educate the community, or each of our communities, but also to make sure that to kind of remind you that yeah, we actually know what we're doing here and can help you. So we'll put that out there. For those of you who are also in the consulting space, certainly love to hear from you. You know, chime into the chat. Let us know that you're here as well. But with that said, I would like to get started. Any opening comments or questions from the panelists?
Yeah, I have a question for everyone, the attendees. If you guys can hear us and see us, could you type 5? Just because I want to make sure that you can see us and hear us. Yeah. Let me see.
Yeah.
All right, we got 5. So Owen, 5. Luca, whoo, 5 5s. Getting generous with the 5s. We appreciate it. Martin, Elizabeth, Veronica, Jonathan. All right, they all gave us 5s. I think we're Gucci.
All right, cool. And of course, just when I was about to share the slides of who we are, the window closed.
If you want, I can do it. I have it, and then you can just.
You have it up right now?
Yeah, I got it up right now.
Sean, if you want to go ahead and share, go ahead and do that. Yep. That way, people understand. It's like put a face to the name and know who we represent.
Let's do it.
And we'll just go around whatever is on the slide that comes up. If you want to just,
cool.
Just go in sequence of.
Got to change that slide. Don't worry about that, guys.
There you go. All right, so George, you're on deck first.
Nice. Hi, I'm George, everyone. George Marissa from an agency called Clear Ads. I'm the founder. It's been going since 2011. We deal mainly with Amazon sponsored ads, Amazon DSP, and a bit of Google Ads too.
Cool. Destiny?
Awesome. My name is Destiny Rashan. I am co-founder of Better AMS. We manage Amazon advertising for bigger brands that are really looking to scale their ad presence through, all the ad types as well as DSP.
Cool.
Hey, this is Aaron. So I own eMazing, and we specifically help any Amazon sellers who are private label making at least over 100K per month, full service Amazon PPC agency. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Cool. We'll come back to you, Sean. Brent?
Oh yeah, because I'm down here.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, Windows good. Yeah, I do the same thing everyone else does, except I do it from France. How about that?
That's awesome. Very cool. Liz?
All right, apologize. There's a lawnmower in my backyard right now. I wasn't expecting that this morning. Liz Adamson, I was the founder of Agility. We were just acquired by BuyBox Experts, so now I'm vice president over there. We offer full-scale advertising services as well as account management services for anyone needing help with basically full-scale account services for Seller Central or Vendor Central.
Very cool. All right, Sean, back to you.
Hey, my name is Sean Smith, and I own a Amazon PPC training program for just like brands. I mean, like in terms of like our student base, it's like 6, 7, and 8-figure sellers. We also help agencies and consultants as well, and we teach them how to scale their advertising.
Awesome. Fantastic. And then I'm Brian Johnson. I am the co-founder for Canopy Management, Sponsored Products Academy, and a few other things. I just want to say I am humbled to share the stage here with the rest of these experts. It's a pleasure having you here. Thank you.
Cool.
All right.
All right. And then cool. I'm gonna just stop sharing the screen. Is that cool?
Yeah, I mean, this is something we kind of went over as far as this one here. We can probably stop sharing the screen here, but let me kind of go through some of this. So back in round one, we were talking about brand. We go through a similar format for each of the ad types, for sponsored brand ads, for sponsored display ads, and DSP. Now we're going to do it for sponsored product ads. There's a set of questions we're going to talk about. We're going to go through some conceptions, misconceptions, what the pros and cons are of the ad type. What some of our predictions are. It's a very volatile year, so even our predictions are going to be a margin of error a little bit larger. And then we're going to take your questions. And so make sure you start feeding those into us as far as what some of your questions are. But we'll go around the room and we'll talk about primarily sponsored product ads, which of course drives most of the sales for a lot of brands. And then next round 4 is kind of the exciting one, because that's when we actually put them all in the ring together and we basically have a battle brawl across the different ad types and see who survives. That should be fun, especially if we make it very dramatic and use flashing lights and music and all that kind of stuff. So,
dude, I do have like some lights. I do have some just in case. Like, we could,
well, I'm expecting George to walk in with the, like the black and silver fighter robe,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got one. He calls it a bathrobe. We call it a fighter robe. Anyway, it's all right. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's first of all talk about as far as sponsored product ads. A lot has changed across all the ad types in the past year. We love it because we're geeks that way. Let's talk about conceptions and misconceptions. And I will say, let me go ahead and throw it out. Who wants to chime in first regarding conceptions and misconceptions about sponsored product ad type?
How about that they're easy to run? I see too many sellers just jumping in saying, oh, I just set up a couple campaigns, throw a few keywords in there, set up some bids. But unfortunately, while that may have been the case when they first launched years ago, there's way too much competition to think that it's just a simple matter of, 1, 2, 3, and you're done.
So you're saying that's more of a misconception, is that it's simply just easy to run?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that was kind of the whole idea that Amazon originally came out. It's like, oh yeah, just run an automatic campaign and it all just magically works. But it's gotten a lot more complicated over the past few years. And so, yeah, that's a good one for sure. All right.
This is
maybe conceptions. Oh, sorry, go on, Destiny.
I was just going to say this is kind of relevant to all ad types, but sponsored products typically drives, the majority of advertising sales. What we see is sponsored products are going to change their business. They think that, if they're doing a decent amount right now, sponsored products are going to take them to the next level. It's all they need to really drive a ton of scale profitably. and they want us to turn them on and basically turn them into $1 million business from a $10,000 a month business. And I mean, in all reality, we can get them on page 1 typically, but doesn't mean it's going to change anything you're already doing organically too much.
That's actually a really good one, yeah, because that's certainly something we hear all the time is there's a common misconception that it is a magic bullet that's going to get them to rank on keywords that they've got no business ranking on. So yeah, so that's a fun one for sure.
I think kind of to play off of what like Liz said about like how it's easy. Well, like these days, a good example is like they've been layering on features. So like bids by placement is a good example. And so what we've seen is like we have certain optimization practices that we have, and we've actually had to change those based on bids by placement, right? A good example is like we used to use the cost per click data as a for our formulas. But if you do bids by placement and you increase that percentage, then using cost per click would actually increase the bid. So like you have to think about like when you layer on features, how that impacts your optimization methodologies. And that's something that's like, it's making things more complicated a bit and just having to adapt and change. So like that kind of goes back to like, it's not super easy, right? These layers are making it more complicated.
Very good.
Can I just add as well, sponsored product ads is the foundation of pay-per-click, especially in the Amazon world. And that's kind of, I think we should never underestimate the power of sponsored product ads, because it's in essence, if you think in terms of the marketing world, you know, it's a game changer because someone's searching for your product and they see the exact product they're looking for in that split second. So if you're positioned well enough, especially when you're looking at the manual sponsored product placements, and you have a good enough message, then that's gonna help you convert. And I think it's gonna be like one of the most powerful ways you're gonna see that. So it's my favorite place, and I think it's the most common place that a lot of people build out before they go anywhere else in any given account.
To kind of build off
Yeah, that might be a correct conception. Yeah. Sorry, Destiny, we keep having a, I'll go this time. That might be a correct conception, George, which is like, that is the place to start. Like that's your step 1, right? This is your primary right foot forward. Okay, and then when we test the water, we can keep walking further on to see if it's good for a swim. And I think that to talk about misconceptions would be that sponsored products is not necessary. You know, we've all done audits for companies that are selling, you know, a substantial amount per month and they have a minimal amount invested in advertising, and we say, wow, let's project out what we could do for you in terms of just basic exposure, just covering the best practices for sponsored products alone. Here are the figures that it probably would look like. Here's how it looks. And they're just not convinced, you know, they're not really sold on it. So I think it's gone from a nice to have to a need to have. It's no longer like, oh, that's nice, we could use ads. It's now necessary to do so. Do not like avoid it for some reason.
Yeah, can I actually give an example on that? So one of our clients in the UK, in the last few weeks, they did hand sanitizers and there was no sponsored ads allowed. And then this week they allowed sponsored ads, and his sales have dropped 20% since they allowed sponsored ads to now run for hand sanitizers. So we're now kind of positioning ourselves aggressively to get up there. So just to cement what you said, Brent, there, that if you're not in those positions, you're taking away real estate that could potentially be generating more sales.
Very good. Very good.
I would say, like, for me, like the biggest thing when I talk to like new clients or prospective clients is that they ask me like, well, like once you get everything set up that you're gonna do, like what are you doing after that? And I feel like that's like the biggest misconception is like people set up their initial campaigns, they target the top 10, 50, 100 keywords that they think that they should be showing for, but then they just stop and they don't keep trying to find new keywords, test new things, and eventually they just see performance go down and they're like, what happened?
Yeah, it's not.
So you don't tell them that you burn $100 bills and just laugh in your mansion? That you don't tell them the truth, man? Come on.
Yeah, Aaron definitely he stole that one from me. Actually, no, he beat me to it. So yes, I completely agree with that, and that's actually the one I was going to bring up. Is the conception is like, okay, once you set it up, you know, I only need you for the first few weeks to help me set this up, and then it'll just run on autopilot, or I can have software run it. And I look at those situations, and when I hear it out in the community, obviously, if it's a client of mine, then I want to kind of educate them as far as the reality of it and show them. Out in the field, I kind of, you've seen me kind of chuckle at some of these kind of comments and say it's like, oh, I love that mindset, because it just makes it that much easier for me. Just steal your market share.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Because it really comes down to is that, I mean, yeah, if all you're ever doing is running even an automatic campaign, there's so many new controls that are available and adjustments on an automatic campaign that's no longer simply just turn it on and let it run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is, for one, definitely concurring with Aaron, is that it's not a setup once and just simply maintain. There's multiple layers and phases to advertising, and if you're not doing it, your competition is. In fact, a lot of times we see this a lot is in the last year, so many of the brand competitors have caught up and started implementing the new ad types that are available, and the brand that we might be working with or coaching is saying, it's like, I don't understand why my sales are declining. Why am I losing market share? Because you're not doing anything to keep up with the pace that your competitors are doing. And they're basically taking a for sale sign, planting it in your front yard and say, hey, come next door because I've got something better. And they're letting them in there. You're just letting the door wide open for them to kind of come in. So it's a misconception is that it's simply just, just turn it on for a set of keywords and then it'll just all work. It's a lot more complicated. In the last 6 to 12 months, it's gotten a lot more complicated. There's a lot of power if you know how to do it. You can absolutely crush competition if you know how to do it. That's one of the reasons why we're in business, is to make sure that we do know. So yeah, that's
and just to add to that, Brian, if we focus just on automatic campaigns alone, there's so much within that, because sometimes you might notice that the automatic campaigns, the ACoS is horrid, and then all of a sudden it's really good again. So Amazon are doing so much in the background that we don't even know about with the automatic campaigns, which impact your performance overall. So they need to be monitored. And another misconception is, why do I need to run auto campaigns? The ACoS is high. But the auto campaigns play an insane part in this, because they allow you to find new keywords that you would have never thought about to then test and use. So that's another misconception is, the two I just mentioned.
And ACEs. We can find ACEs that we can
Oh,
reinvest
yeah.
through display, DSP.
Yeah.
To kind of build off that as well, I feel like sponsored products don't get a lot of love because they're not shiny. They're not as branded. We don't get the ability to write copy. But at its core, they have so much more ad inventory than any other of the ad types. Sponsored brand shows up, top of search, product detail page, bottom of search. Sponsored display shows up, on the PPC end of the buy box, things like that. Sponsored products are throughout page one, they're throughout the product detail page, they're all over. And you can run them, with different products fitting on the exact same keywords, because you're going to influence multiple placements. So the ad inventory there is so much more than everything else. So yes, it's getting more competitive, but with proper bid management and keyword research, you can stay a little bit ahead of the curve there, because you're all fighting for so many placements.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, I'll add that.
Yeah, one further. Liz, go ahead.
Okay. I'll add that, back on the theme of, you can just set it up and not worry about it anymore. A lot of people are being sucked into AI technology, which is a great way to scale if you're like running thousands of campaigns, or, so it can solve some problems for you on that end. But AI should still never be run without constant oversight and some manual optimization, and it's not going to be appropriate for all campaigns. And there's lots of things to consider there. I mean, we have used AI as an agency, but never just set it and forget it. It's always been, okay, let's watch this carefully. If it's not appropriate, we move it. We make manual adjustments. We know how to influence the algorithms as well that are running those bid adjustments, so understanding how the AI bidding algorithm works so that you can then influence it the way you want it to run. So yeah, AI is kind of that bright, shiny penny that's out there right now that everyone's going, oh, I can set it and forget it. Not so much. It's like we've seen some pretty bad results when that happens.
Yeah, Liz, I think kind of the way I was kind of framing that as you were saying is that, I was kind of paraphrasing what you're saying is that AI, we consider AI as a tool, not a strategy.
Yeah.
we use AI,
Yeah.
but we don't
Yeah.
use it in order to automate the strategy or to, automate the management. We use it for competitive research and shopper insight and those kind of things. But we don't use it like some of the other platforms. One of the jokes, I was being kind of cheeky in one of my replies to somebody was asking, it's like, hey, what's everybody's opinion about Quartile? And I'm not picking on Quartile specifically, but my response to the post was like, I absolutely love Quartile. They send me clients all the time.
Dude, that's how it was with
I'm being cheeky, but it is true. Is that it is very common? Is that it's like, I had a bad experience, and so I need somebody who actually knows the strategy, not just the tool. So.
And the way I frame it is like this: the ad industry for Google Ads has been around for more than 15, 16 years, and there are platforms that are billion-dollar platforms that operate within the Google Ads ecosystem. But at the end of the day, who is still managing that from a high level and setting strategy and building things out is humans. It's not like you just turn a machine on and walk away from it. If that's the case, there wouldn't be hundreds of thousands of people who have full-time jobs as working at agencies, working at companies full-time doing Google ad management. Even though those platforms are huge platforms with a lot of money invested in them that are infinitely more complex, by the way, than what we have available through Amazon's API, which is still like early days compared to what Google has developed. I mean, some of you are much more experienced with the API than I am, but I can say we're on version 2. A lot of things aren't that complicated. So a lot of these tools make big promises. I'm not sure if they can deliver on all the nuances of it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the technology. I mean, like all technology, I absolutely love, I'm passionate about, but it's just for this particular field, it's just not there yet. It'll get there. It'll improve over time. It'll adapt, and people will innovate for it. So. All right.
One other misconception I'll add is that there's a right way to set up campaign structure. There's any number of different ways to structure an account, and it really depends on what your objectives are and what your product catalog is like, and even seasonality for that matter, or fluctuations in demand. There's not like one way that is the right way to do it. It's something that's a lot more of a gray area and is open to interpretation and discussion and between us and clients, sometimes dialogue, like a discussion. What does this look like? How should we best structure it? And maybe even for their convenience for reporting or legibility on their end.
It is interesting in that, certainly my own strategies that I've taught have changed over the years, over the last few years. Some of the things as far as like using automatic campaigns for search term research, for keyword research. It's like, I don't teach that anymore because I think the keyword research tools are way better than what your automatic campaign is gonna do from a search term standpoint. It's product research definitely is there, but I also don't want people to think it's like that I don't use automatic campaigns, because I use them all day long. I absolutely do. One of the things, so I guess my point on that is that the strategies not only adapt over time as it gets more complex, but there's also multiple strategies that work. In some cases, they work in certain situations and they don't work in others. So there's that. And ultimately, it's just a case of, it's kind of interesting, is in working with a new client to go in and look at their ad campaigns, and you can kind of see that history where they've been following the podcast of the week and they've got like 100 different campaigns and they're all named for these different strategies that they've been just shiny object, shiny object, shiny object. So you probably all see the same thing.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's switch over. Let's keep things moving here. Let's talk about pros and cons of the sponsored product ad type. This is going to be kind of a long one, but who wants to jump in first on pros and cons?
How about pros? Super easy to get started. You can start a campaign in like 20 minutes if you just do basic keyword research, everything. You don't need to have ad copy. You don't need to have images prepared. It's easy to iterate and get started.
Uh,
Yeah, you don't need creative. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't need brand registry. Yeah, it's available to all sellers. It's the one that's you don't need brand registry for.
Yeah, good one. Okay.
Something that Liz kind of mentioned earlier is, sponsored products are kind of the core. So it's great for, researching for all your other ad types. So it's a great way to have evergreen keyword research with broad, auto campaigns that you can reinvest in sponsored brands. When you get into sponsored brands and sponsored display, it's much more complex because you have split testing for different landing pages, things like that. But sponsored products is probably the easiest to read from a data standpoint. Because if you run, a campaign with one product targeting a certain amount of keywords, you pull a search term report and see exactly what they're converting on, what your conversion is at any CPC. And if you just, work the first principles of that, you can figure out how to optimize without, being a data scientist or anything. You can see what you're converting on at that CPC. Now the placements are going to play a role in that, but in general, it's amazing for keyword research and data analysis for understanding your product better.
And Destiny, wouldn't you say that also kind of speaks to their current stage of reporting capabilities, is that they've had more time on sponsored product ads, therefore the reporting is more evolved. Now, that said, I mean, if you can't really compare that to, like, say, DSP reporting, right? As far as some of the targeting, but each ad type is going to have a different set of reporting. But I think the sponsored product ads, what you're saying is, it's a lot easier to interpret as a novice than some of the other ad types where you have to kind of like read between the lines.
The advertised product report, all you need.
Yeah.
All you need is data.
Right. Very good.
I would just like piggybacking off of Destiny, for sure, because it's so much more simple than the other forms, right? You're just able to learn like quicker and better, right? Like you're literally only testing the keyword to see how your product matches up against that keyword and how people respond to it, versus like sponsored brands or getting into video and search. There's a lot of other variables that come into play. With that being said, I think because it's been around for so long, one of like the cons is that the cost per click is just steadily increasing year over year. So it's becoming more competitive to do that kind of research.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to add in too, is that from a con standpoint, is the competition is pretty narrow. Kind of what I was mentioning before is, if most of what we see is brands that are only using 10 to 15% of the ad space that's available to them, if all their competition is doing the same 10 to 15%, then of course it's going to be expensive. And so anybody who breaks out, even if they do it badly into other ad types or other targeting, could easily gain market share at a much lower cost simply because their product niche is not there yet. They will. Don't ever think that anything you implement today is not going to be matched by everybody else within 6 months, because it will. But as long as you're continually adapting to what's working now and what is available now, and you're staying on top of that, then you can keep that pace ahead. Especially, we've seen this a lot coming off of COVID, where brands with individual products that were really hot during COVID, they've gained a substantial market share and organic rank, and they're like going, it's like, okay, it's like, we're in a pretty good position. I'm like going, you're about ready to lose all that. And They don't understand. It's like if you don't get your ad coverage out there to lock in the market share that you currently have, that you're going to slide right back down to where you were previously, because nothing else has changed, only the demand. But if you don't get that visibility, if you don't get that coverage and that awareness to your shoppers across all the different ad types, you're going to lose that market share just as quick as you got it.
That's a good point.
Something I want to mention to kind of build off that is, not only are there more sellers advertising, so at its core, we have more people bidding at the auction, but the advertising mentality is changing. It's now a necessity. If accounts come to me and they still want to get 10% ACOS, even though they have a 40% margin, first thing I say is, that's unrealistic unless you're just trying to be a short-term seller, short-term brand. The people who want to stay on the platform are viewing it as, a traditional marketing expense. They're advertising on the platform to grow brand awareness, and the longevity of it is, if your organic ranking goes up and the more people you drive to your product, you're going to be there longer. And that's kind of the core thing, is the mentality is changing. People are paying to play.
Yeah, because you get the bigger players that are coming in, and it sounds like, okay, we have budgets for these things, which I don't know how many private label sellers you talk to. It's like, you ask the question, it's like, do you have a budget? And they're like, what?
Open budget, minus sales goals.
Exactly.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, in terms of the real estate, so in terms of a pro is Amazon are now giving more of the search results real estate to sponsored product ads compared to organic. And that's been a massive shift over the last year and a half. I've personally seen, and that's kind of been a much better opportunity to kind of generate even more sales. So if you're not doing it, then you're definitely going to be missing out on market share, and it's even worse on mobile. So on mobile devices, it's mostly sponsored ads that you see, sponsored product ads, compared to anything else.
Yeah, and with that, because those ads look exactly like search results, you know, unless you know what you're looking for and we're looking for that little sponsored tag, most customers I think they're just clicking on a search result. And the fact that more and more placements are being given to ads and being taken away from organic, if you're not playing and paying to play, you're losing opportunities just to show up in search, period.
That's one of the first things I tell sellers. You know, type in your top keyword. Mobile, you typically scroll, you know, past a headline search ad, past the sponsored placements, 2 organic placements, and then you have editorial recommendations. You have Amazon products, then you have video and search. It no longer matters if you're ranked, you know, anything below number 5. People are hardly going to see you down there. So if you're not ranked, you know, 1, 2, or 3 and been in this for a long time, start advertising and get your product to number 1. Like, you may lose, but it's the price to pay.
And what's crazy too is I'll see people with like the Amazon Choice badge, and they're still buried down there. So
Yeah.
I would say one pro that I've seen with sponsored products compared to other ad types is the ability to scale. So like, and you don't need to have a software to do it, right? Like if you look at bulk files, so like, you know, scaling with sponsored products is a lot easier than scaling with sponsored brands or sponsored display. It's just a much more mature bulk file, and it's evolved over the years, right? Like bids by placements in there, you can change those. You know, I mean, API wise as well, but you know, for like the average seller, you know, the bulk files, it's just much easier to scale the sponsored products, and you can manipulate a lot of the features to whereas like sponsored display product targeting, there's no bulk file, no sponsored brands video. You can even like, I think you can edit some bids for them of those, but in terms of like completeness, I think sponsored products has the advantage for scalability.
Yeah, maybe the API thing matters more on the perspectives that we have as agencies, consultants, people who work with a large number of accounts, but certainly the API is the most mature for sponsored products. You know, for example, we don't even have sponsored brands video, as far as I'm aware, you know, metrics able to be reported on inside of any third-party software, because it just doesn't exist in the API. I mean, it's fairly new, granted. And I think the same is true for sponsored display, but sponsored products, you can turn all the knobs and dials you know, through the API and get a lot of information out of it because it's been there the longest.
Fantastic. Okay. Sean, do me a favor here. So as we kind of wrap up this section, the pros and cons, I see that those that have showed up, we had a number of people that showed up late. In fact, we pretty much doubled since we started. So I would like to kind of recap as far as like who's on, who's on stage here.
Let's do it.
Just so that everybody knows, you know, we don't necessarily need to go through the slide necessarily. If we just kind of go around the table and say, you know, obviously our names are showing here, but maybe what, you know, where you're at and what's your company.
And we'll just start with George, like go the order of the slide.
Sure.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, okay. So my name is George Marissa. I'm the founder of Clear Ads Limited. We've been going since 2011, helping companies advertise on Amazon through sponsored ads, Amazon demand side platform, and we have dabbled with Google Ads too.
Okay, and you're based in London, right?
I am, yeah, in London, yeah.
Cool. Right, but do you have a global client base?
Yeah, so we deal with companies across the world. So mostly the US, actually, funny enough.
Right. I think we're all global, right? Isn't each of our agencies global? Okay, cool. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Who was next on the slide, Sean?
It was Destiny.
Destiny. Okay.
Awesome. I'm Destiny Rashawn, co-founder of Better AMS, and we manage, you know, on-platform Amazon advertising ads for all the brands that are really trying to scale. Manage, you know, everything sponsored and DSP.
Fantastic.
Cool. So this
now
is
you're, sorry, Destiny, where are you based?
Bentonville, Arkansas.
Arkansas, cool. All right, Aaron?
This is Aaron, based in Chicago, Illinois, same place as Sean. And I own a full service Amazon PPC agency for 7- and 8-figure private label brands.
Fantastic. Was it Liz, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, sure thing. Liz Adamson, VP at Buy Box Experts. We provide not only Amazon advertising, but full-scale Amazon account services. And I'm just based outside of Salt Lake City, Utah.
All right, you're up, Brent.
Oh, okay. I'll do a better job than I did last time then when I was muted. But yeah, same thing, you know, on Amazon advertising platforms, in addition to DSP, a lot more heavily this year. Seen a lot of success with that. And I am based in Montpellier in the south of France. And we have about 40% of our client base is EU. So that's one of my personal big focuses. And the direction I'm taking the company in the future is EU, and Turkey, which is not in the EU, but it's Europe. So any place that's nearby counts too.
Turkey. Okay, Turkey.
Yeah, man, we're getting Turkey notifications for some clients now, so it's been interesting.
Cool. That's cool, man. I'm Sean Smith. I own a training program, Amazon PPC training program that trains 6, 7, and 8-figure Amazon sellers. Just basically teach them how to scale the PPC and other ads.
Okay. And then you're also out of Chicago, obviously.
Yeah. I'm in Chicago, Illinois. Downtown Chicago. In action.
I told George that we could share a screen, but he'd have to fly out to the States. So
yeah. You can come here, Brian. You can come here as well, Brian.
No, I plan to. Yes.
There's a seat here for you, mate.
Legitimately travel. Yes, absolutely.
Here in George's office.
Okay, so and then my name is Brian Johnson. I am co-founder I'm actually head of research for Canopy Management. We're also a full service agency. And then also for co-founder for Sponsor Products Academy and PPC Scope and a couple of these other things. But awesome. Thank you everybody for going around the table, just kind of bringing the newcomers into the call up to speed here for the, just kind of like thinking about the rest of this call here. We've talked about conceptions and misconceptions regarding sponsored product ads. We've already, in the last couple of episodes, we already covered sponsored brand ads and sponsored display and DSP ads. Right now, we're talking about specifically sponsored product ads. And then next time on round 4, we're going to bring them all together, throw them in the same ring, and have them brawl it out. So looking forward to that one. So I'm expecting Destiny to wear face paint or something. I think I'll try to get like a door mask myself. But what we're going to cover next is
a lot of talk going on, Brian. We got to see this. We got to see this next time.
I don't own one, but I'm now tempted. So if I can find one to fit my big head.
This is being recorded, by the way.
So the rest of this call, we're going to do some speculation here. We're not only going to talk about predictions, but we also want to take your questions. So for those of you who are on, who are listening in, go ahead and post in your questions. I'm assuming, Sean, that you can see their responses. I don't.
Yeah. So if you guys have a question, just pop it in the question box. I'll I just copy and paste them with your name, and then we just answer them at the end of the Webby.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and I want to appreciate it. Say thank you again to each of you for joining in. For those of you who are not familiar with everybody on the panel here, is that each one of us have multiple years of experience in the Amazon advertising space. We live and breathe this, and we do quite well for our clients. So we decided we wanted to come together and kind of talk about, get a roundtable going for all of you, and showcase as far as what has changed in the last year on the ad platform that you need to know about. So that leads me into the fun topic of predictions. Who wants to open up with prediction? Destiny's chomping at the bit there. She's got something rolling around. No. All right, I'll go ahead and open this one. So one of the things I definitely see, I'm going to see, we see this more on the demand side, on the DSP, on the display side, and that has to do with targeting options, the ability to focus ads into either audience or either like purchase behavior or shopping behavior or even demographics. There are some discussions out in some of the Google ad world talking about how that type of targeting is now considered prejudice, which is kind of an interesting shift in the community conversation. I don't know how that's going to play out on the Amazon platform, but I do see that that's going to be a continually evolving feature. I know certainly in the discussions that I have with Amazon each week, it's, they're talking about as far as like, hey, here's the next API that we're rolling out for new data points. Here is a new ad type that we're talking about. We need your feedback on some other change that they're planning on. And probably everybody in this room here is at that level where they have those same kind of conversations. We've got those kind of contacts within Amazon. So that's one of the reasons I want to make sure I had this specific group of experts here today. But yeah, what I see on this is that Amazon is intentionally investing very heavily into advertising and building out. They've got a lot of competition coming down the line. You see partnerships like Walmart and eBay and Shopify trying to come together. You've got Google Shopping that's partnering with the brick and mortar retailers. You've got a number of other competitors who want this space, and Amazon knows that they need to invest heavily in order to stay ahead of it and to retain market share. So some of that's going to be, how do we get better conversion with shoppers? How do we get our products in front of the right audience at the right time, under the right conditions? And all of those are going to add a new layer of complexity over the next year. That's part of my predictions.
Cool. Can I go next? Is that all right?
Of course.
Okay. So my predictions is I think there's going to be a little bit more sophistication around attribution. I think they'll start to introduce attribution kind of more on a linear scale. So showing other keywords that might have contributed to a sale. So they might have kind of originally searched for one keyword. And I think that's a massive jigsaw that's missing right now, because you can easily start to cut out keywords that might have done a fantastic job of generating awareness just because that information isn't there. So that's one prediction. Another prediction is going to be around kind of evenly spreading the budget out throughout the day. That's one thing I see is going to become the next thing. I think there's softwares out there that try to provide a solution for this issue, but when you've got so much momentum for terms at the moment, unless you manually start to shut off keywords, they will, if they will just turn off themselves when the budget is depleted, which leaves your competitors that opportunity to steal your sales, whereas with other platforms you're able to evenly spread that budget out. So that's something which I can see happening, and then being able to then have your ads served during certain hours of the day, which you can do with Amazon DSP. So their platform can do it. It's just about now pushing it in. I'm surprised it's not being done already, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think we see that more on the solution side of the house. I know there's a lot of things that we're rolling out in our next release of PPC Scope this summer that for things like day parting, things like ad group level budgets, these kinds of things where there's a little bit tighter control than what you can get on Seller Central, which that's going to be the natural part of solution providers just evolving the technology, because traditionally Amazon hasn't moved fast enough. They're moving a lot faster now. So we have to innovate a lot more than we used to.
I think to build off what George says, attribution is going to be really big, especially knowing how Amazon's internally structured, where all their ad teams are pretty separate. There's not a lot of internal communication there, because they want them to have that competition, that growth, and that scale, especially seeing how amazing of an investment it has been lately. Sponsored products will build something out without really communicating to sponsored display or sponsored brands. So with that, we get incredible new tools, tips, tricks, things like that, and we get to play around and test them. But what we're missing is a lot on the attribution side of things. So I think that is an amazing call out, figuring out how many ads were clicked, before a purchase, because right now it's just last click. So that's going to be amazing, getting more insights to the consumer funnel, and then just more cleaner targeting, like Brian said. Auto campaigns already have more targeting that people aren't even accurately using, because now we have loose, close, complement substitutes, which tells you ASINs, versus search terms. So being able to do a better job of micro-targeting those rather than just a high-level campaign budget, high-level bid, let it run across 3,000 keywords. Like that's the past. But we used to be able to get away with that, not anymore.
Yeah, I'll jump on the attribution. That's something we've been discussing with internal Amazon teams for some time now, and they realize how important that is to just to be able to show the seller or the advertiser that click on the sponsored product ad, that started a long time before, almost, with a DSP ad or with a sponsored display ad, or with, often customers are clicking on, they're coming back multiple times before they make that final purchase. And so being able to see what's actually going on in the full funnel, that first they saw this, then they saw this, then they saw this, then they clicked the sponsored product ad and purchased. So you can better design your marketing campaigns to funnel that traffic into that final kind of purchase and landing page.
Okay.
Right. I'll chime in on something that's not really related to forces within Amazon, but is maybe external forces. So I personally think that not under this administration in the US, but maybe under further administrations in the future, that Amazon will probably be investigated and or charged with like monopoly or antitrust. And so I think that part of that is going to mean Amazon is forced to change their advertising practices. And something that someone brought up earlier is like, oh yeah, those ads, they barely look like ads. Yeah, I think that's probably going to have to change at some point. And further to that point is recently there was that first like top left of search result, which is basically like, try this from Amazon's brand. And then that was like quickly taken away after Amazon and Jeff Bezos in particular, I think were, sent to be questioned. They weren't given an official subpoena, but they were, questioned by the antitrust committee on some, congressional subcommittee. And so, we don't really have a strong history of like antitrust enforcement in America in the past 30 years, but I think that it's going to be interesting to see what kind of attention Amazon has now been put under post-COVID and during COVID. And I think they're going to have to change the way they do ads because some of it is a little bit aggressive and they're being watched now. So that might have some impact on our whole ecosystem that we can't really anticipate. And that's, don't hold me to a time limit on that because I think that's not going to happen for some years. But I think people internally, maybe on their legal teams, are probably thinking about that, how it looks in the public perception, how it actually is executed on the platform. So we might see some changes kind of in like a direction that we don't expect thanks to that.
Kind of tying into that too is the like on the brand pages, the store pages, is those brands, and I speak to, we speak to a lot of brands that haven't done anything with their store page, haven't done anything with their brand, their branding. And a lot of times because they leave that door wide open, it's not even necessarily third-party seller competitors. Amazon is completely fine with, you come in and say, okay, here's our brand. And then down below, it's like, oh, check out all of our brands, that are similar to this product. Like, that's pretty blatant. I was looking at that last week. I was pointing that out to somebody. So yeah, it's still, they're still very active as far as promoting their own Amazon brands.
Yeah, I would say one prediction.
It's kind of like a casino. The house always wins.
Right, exactly. Sean?
I was just gonna say, I guess a sponsored product prediction for me is that I think people's optimization practices are gonna have to change because I think Amazon's gonna layer on more features and you're gonna have to like future pace in a way, right? With like bids by placement is kind of the biggest one that we're seeing with a lot of our students because like we have a certain optimization process and it's like causing negative issues. So like people are gonna have to like create like different ways to optimize based on the features that they're using. So they have to like understand those features and future pace what like it looks like in the future in their head. And so like right now it was like very simple before bids by placement and other features that they have, the up and down only, all that stuff. But now you have to like think of like the math. So I think the math is you're gonna have to do more math in your head like in the future to backtrack to what the effect would be, and so that when you do optimize, you create like the proper formulas to be able to do that. I think that's a big one. Yeah, that's what like I'm thinking about in my head is like, okay, if people layer on this feature, how does that affect our equations right now in our optimization processes? What tweaks do we need to make in our equations to make those changes? So, and that's going to get more complicated. And you're always like, how do we take complexity and then like simplify it? And so it's like an iteration and it becomes more sophisticated as they layer these features out and we test them.
Sean, you mentioned something that rang true for me, that it will just continue to change. Like
Yeah.
we can't sit back and just expect that whatever process and we've perfected now is going to continue to work year over year. And I mean that's why all of us do what we do. I mean, because we know that half of our job is just trying to keep up with the changes and then coming up with new procedures and SOPs and things to make sure that we're still being effective. I mean, that's what you can bet on, that something will change, and you have to be paying attention, and you have to be experimenting, and you have to be on your toes and not be asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, great points. It just sparked my own question I'm going to ask later.
Yeah.
All right.
I was
Aaron, you
can I
want to
just-
add anything there?
Yeah, I was just going to add to what Sean said. I think overall the cost per clicks on average are going to continue to increase, and long are the days that Amazon's cost per click is going to be cheaper than Google's, for example, because it's an auction and people are prepared to pay a little bit more if the margins are there, and because Amazon's growing at such a crazy rate as well, is the opportunity is going to grow, but the cost per clicks will continue to increase as well. So if we have those same campaigns running as you had a year, 2 years ago, the ACoS is going to continue to increase. You cannot do what you did before and expect to see the same results if the bids are increasing, and that's going to be a kind of just a big overall issue that's going to happen. People are going to see.
Right.
It was funny when you said auction, because like, have you guys ever been to a real auction where like they talk really fast? In my head, I imagine like a robot version of that on the advertising platform. A robot with like a straw hat and just like doing his thing on a platform.
No, I was scratching my face. That wasn't. No, you're the winner. Go in the Ferrari.
Yeah, exactly.
Brian, the person that scratches their face is probably also the person posting about click fraud.
All right. I do actually have kind of a different question here. A little bit off topic, but I kind of want to get your gut feelings on this. Prime Day 2020. What date do each of you think that's going to start on? I've already been kind of public with my guess, and which means it's probably going to be wrong. But Sean, throw it out there, man.
Dude, I don't have a date, man. I don't even know, dude.
Come on.
I'm trying to survive their feature updates.
Wasn't it Ingenuity that sent out a mass email saying it was going to be in September? Is that who it was?
Well,
Yeah,
so
I
Amazon actually said that they pushed it back to September. Yeah. But
Yeah,
then
that's
now
relatively
also-
confirmed. Yeah, September's more or less confirmed at this point, but I'm thinking
So
mid-September.
it's got to be the 8th or the 15th.
Yeah.
Right. So
That'd
my
be a Tuesday then. It'd be Monday.
Yeah, I'm still sticking to September 15th for a couple of reasons. One is because it's not right after the holiday, which is the previous week, or the end of the previous week. And two, it's because that is when there's like a 3-week period where lightning deals are still open, and that wraps around the week of September 15th. And so everything else before and after is kind of closed off at the moment. So I'm kind of thinking that's where they're going to leave it. However, I did have one partner who has, they also have like a vendor rep, and they were told by their vendor rep to make sure that they are, they were told a couple weeks ago, to make sure they've got their inventory aligned for Prime Day in October. I haven't heard anything else other than that one like rumor comment where some rep told somebody, it's like, make sure you plan your inventory for October, for Prime Day.
That's interesting. Yeah, because we've had some inside information that confirmed September. So,
Yeah, I'm still sticking with September 15th as a start date, but could be wrong.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is kind of interesting on this, kind of related to this a little bit, is Amazon, of course, trying to make up for some of the lost fashion and clothing sales that normally happen during the spring by having this upcoming event, right? For the fashion event. I don't remember that, but it's what date it was specifically. I think it's in July, right?
22nd this month, was it?
Oh, was it? Okay. So like next week, you mean?
Yeah, it's like real
Obviously,
soon. Yeah.
anybody who is selling on that one. So, but I kind of predict is like why wouldn't they have, instead of just having like a Prime Day, why not have a theme focused, day, so that like each month, you've got something like going, oh, it's, it's electronics day, it's, some other month it's toys day, it's, that kind of thing, where there's a specific theme going on. It still brings on shoppers, but for a specific theme of products, as opposed to just like everything's on sale, whoever wants to sell something.
I think because when they
Yeah, maybe coordinated with seasonality. So, people are interested in stuff for outdoor activities when summer's beginning, right? For instance.
Right.
I think
Yeah, when they know it's going to move the fastest, why not, clear out the warehouses with the stuff they know that they need to move faster?
I think it would be that and a combination of Prime Day.
Yeah.
Just because to me, it's truly a holiday at this point.
Right.
Like Black Friday shopping to me is not with Prime Day. I know
Well,
they do it category, and I think they're trying to replicate it across categories like back to school shopping. But that's always been my biggest issue with like the UI of Amazon. I still don't love, because like no one really knows. I mean, I know people click on like the deal of the day badges and everything, but I feel like they don't promote it enough. Like you could easily use that audience to create really awesome things like that. Like check out this, like their back to school savings stuff. Never that fantastic to me. And I'm on the platform every day, and I never was like, oh, I need to click on this tiny little button that says back to school and this cheap banner ad. So
Yeah, Amazon does have a number of tentpole events throughout the year, and they're just not always very obvious. I mean, Prime Day is the biggest one, Black Friday is the biggest one, but January is New Year, New You, and so they're on health and fitness products and supplements, back to school, Mother's Day, Father's Day. One of the reasons Prime Day was originally launched was because there was nothing going on in the middle of the summer. I mean, no one's shopping for 4th of July holiday. They're out barbecuing and vacationing and whatever. And so it was to, where you've got the Mother's Day and Father's Day in January and Christmas shopping, almost every other season of the year has some sort of event that drives people to the site. Amazon could do a much better job, I think, of promoting some of those tentpole events, because, sometimes you do get that banner across the top that says, hey, shop Mother's Day here and back to school or whatnot. And they do have these intricate landing pages, but they're not always extremely easy to find or even be aware of.
have you guys ever fully went through one of those funnels? I was doing one, and it was like modern home decor and this really big banner, and it was when I was moving, and I went and clicked on it, and it was like living room decor. So I clicked on that funnel. I got served like an organic listing for a bong. And I was like the cleaning is like some of the worst. I don't know what they're pulling for those. Even like you go Father's Day gifts, and then it's like sporty dad, classic dad, this dad, and you click on the buttons. It is populating the worst listings. It's like 3 random listings that someone probably paid.
Dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, did you say
that's really weird,
or did you say a bong?
A bong,
Recreational
like
marijuana day.
Okay.
B-O-N-G, which I guess could be living room decor. I don't know.
Okay. Did it ship
kind of
quickly?
living room you got there?
Huh?
Did it ship quickly or?
I'll send you a picture of it in my living room later. Like,
There you go, yeah.
Dude.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Took way forever to ship. Everyone is super high. They're
You
just
get a
like,
text from Taylor.
dude, like I'm drained. I just folded the box. I'm gonna take a rest.
My
Man.
phone is so heavy, I can't order right now.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get
I
to it
always
tomorrow,
say-
man. We'll get to it tomorrow.
I'm like, seriously.
Michelle, what kind of questions have we had come?
Oh yeah. Let's transition to questions. Cool. All
I'll
right.
let
So
Destiny throw out her comment there. Sorry, I stepped over you.
No, you're good. I was saying I seriously have this vision of like, a 45-year-old person like shopping for their house, and they're looking at vases and they're like, oh, this is so nice. And like they accidentally order a bong.
Look, you can burn incense
It's
on the
artful.
side.
Yes.
Isn't that cool?
It's very artful.
That's a nice feature.
Hurtful. All right. So we do have some questions from everyone. Owen Che sends, where can I see round 1 replay? We sent that out on the email list. I guess I could, if you like put your email address, I can send it to you, or we can send
Yeah,
it
one
to
of the things we could probably do on that too is on the replays is in our next kind of reminder post regarding the replay for this round, we basically include all three, which
Oh, cool. Yeah, we can do
not
that.
a couple of them, but we can probably all do that so that everybody can see it.
So Owen, Brian hit it dead on. What we'll do is the next time we, like when we share this replay, we'll share the other ones. And then when we promote moving forward, we'll share the replays as well. That way people have access.
Because we still have round 4 to go. That's the main event right there. So
Yeah, dude, I've been training. You know
that's
what
where
I'm
we
saying?
actually like
Watching
compare
my
them side by
nutrition,
side.
drinking my water. So Christian Preman, he asks, we just had a discussion about subject matter, maybe not related to today's topic, but maybe you know the best practice. Do you use keyword phrases in subject matter or deduplicated single keywords? I don't know that one. Yeah, dude, I only do PPC, so if you guys know, chime in.
Well, no, I mean, but it also plays into, you know, organic and ad relevance to an extent. That's kind of like what we were saying before, is that there are multiple strategies out there and they all work. Or they shouldn't say they all work, but there's multiple ones that can work, right? So this is another one of those that's gone around so many times where it comes to relevance. Is if you don't feel like you're getting relevance on a keyword or a phrase, yeah, you can try putting in a single word, or you can put in a full phrase. The full phrase is more likely to get a relevance match than a single word. Because if that single word is relevant to a million different listings, the odds of you actually being your product listing being relevant for that one word goes way down, right? That said, you know, as we always advise, is don't put in, you know, restricted terminology or competitor brand names or anything like that in your back end, because you will get caught.
Cool. All right. Owen Che has another question. If I have a keyword already ranked on first page, should I still run PPC on that keyword?
And everyone says yes, more than likely.
Yeah.
Because they're not going
I
to see
think
it
that-
in the first
yeah,
4 spots.
That's one of those things where it's like, okay, if you're running keyword ads, okay, what are you doing on all the other ad types? What are you doing for auto targeting? What are you doing for keyword targeting? What are you doing for product targeting? What are you doing for category targeting? What are you doing for audience targeting? Like, you know, that's one example where, yes, you typically would, in part to defend your own brand and your own space. Yeah, you will be paying a little bit higher price for shoppers who may click on your ad and purchase your product, but at least they purchase your product, not somebody else's. So it's kind of like it diminishes, it mitigates the risk of a competitor swooping in. And I can guarantee you, if you're going up against me, I'm coming after you. You know, I will steal the sale. So
The low price to pay to win market share. And I always say, if you have similar products to the ones ranking #1, run those ads. That way they see your full product line.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and you got to think about kind of cost of customer acquisition too, you know. So yeah, maybe you're paying a high click for that initial purchase, but especially if you've got a larger catalog or if you're a CPG brand and people are going to be coming back for refills or replacements. And then when you start thinking about all the other ad types that are out there that are now allowing us to retarget, you know, people who have purchased in the past. And so sometimes you got to look at that cost not as, oh, I'm paying, you know, $20 per sale just to get, you know, just to sell my $40 product. It's okay, you just paid $20 to get this customer. Now what are you going to do with them? You know, are you going to start retargeting them with some of these other ad types that we've discussed in previous, you know, webinars, so that you can keep that customer and have them return over and over again. And the retargeting ads are much cheaper, you know, and so there's that lower marketing cost. Once they become a customer, they've got a much more likely chance of converting than that for that first conversion.
Yeah.
Cool.
And on my end, just
one of the
being
things
like,
that,
go ahead.
oh, just one thing to add, in addition to that, would be examining the money in, money out from a particular ASIN/SKU is still, with the level of reporting that sponsored products has, not an exact science. So even if you make like a particular campaign for something, one keyword, and you're like, all right, we want to carefully finely tune our appearance for this, you know, you're getting a lot of other SKU sales in there, and a lot of the level of that is not really reported. So you can't really tell exactly like, oh, we're spending X amount, we're getting X back exactly for this particular keyword product combo. So that exercise is not as that useful. You know, you can try to roughly figure out what percentage is coming from ads versus organic, but you're not going to be able to figure out like exactly what it is. So it is better to probably diversify along different ad types and yeah, focus on that instead.
And Owen, on my end, like even if you're the Amazon's choice badge for that keyword, like look at like your daily sales for that keyword, because if it's starting to go down and your competitors are getting more of those sales for that keyword because you're not advertising and dominating that spot, then you may lose that choice badge. So it also depends like on the competition.
That's such a good point, because I was just about to say, you know, that factor in the velocity of the sales that are coming into, if you just shut PPC off, and that your traffic and sales start to dip, someone else will take your spot.
Yeah.
And we've seen this, and we're working with a number of brands where they have the bestseller badge, and their method is these 5 keywords, George. I don't care what the ACOS is on them. You leave them alone, right? And if they start to drop, you bid higher, and then you can do whatever you want in other places, and you can try and generate more traffic. But those keywords, we're gonna be very aggressive with them, and that's something that's key. You know, if you go with I literally just had a massive argument with a client just before this call where he wanted to reduce the bids for certain products because he wanted other products to rank, and I was just like, hold on, these products are there and they have history. To then just to start shutting them down and pulling them back with like a really ridiculous ACOS target is just going to have a negative impact on everything when you're trying to push these brand new products with no reviews, no nothing. So you have to protect what you have, and you have to suck it up sometimes and ride that wave, and try and reduce the ACOS and reduce and minimize the waste from other areas, and minimize the kind of waste. That's not a good word, but try and find other ways to push down that ACOS, because it's going to impact the whole funnel. And like Liz mentioned earlier, if we're not factoring in that whole funnel, we could be chopping off a big part of your business, and it could have a massive negative long-term impact.
And real quick, guys, we might not get to all the questions because we got to wrap it up in like a few minutes, like 5 minutes or so. So we'll try to do our best to answer everyone's question. So the next question, it says, Sean, oh, thank you. No, I'm just Sean. So it says, Sean, you said bulk operations.
Sean, we love you.
It's not there.
Ego.
Sean, like, where do you see that?
You said bulk operations can scale sponsored products without software, but how do you store all the PPC data over the years? How we do it, I mean, everybody else might have a different method, but we don't use software for it. I'm sure some people use software for it. We just have our team on a monthly basis pull last month's, all of the reports from last month, and then we create a library for each client. And yeah, that way we can reference that over the years, you know, so that's kind of how we do it.
That's usually a best practice in the consulting space too, just to make sure that if anything ever does go wrong or some anomaly that wasn't expected, is that we do have rollback points so that we're always looking out for our clients' security.
And quick tip too, like a lot of those softwares only keep like 6 months back or however months data, right? It's actually really good to download those bulk files and store them, because like the same way that you mine your search term report for the last, let's say 60 days and try to find, you know, whatever keywords, mining like last year, this time, Prime Day, like what did really well? Okay, let's make sure we're testing those again, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Jonathan Adkins, he has a couple questions. Sponsored products, dynamic bids, thoughts?
As far as letting Amazon do the dynamic bidding?
Yeah, I guess like the different, you know, down only, up and down.
Oh, you're talking about campaign bidding strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, down only or fixed in some cases.
So campaign bidding strategy, I always open with, on new campaigns, especially for launches, I always go with fixed bid. I use that primarily to bypass Amazon's prejudgment of and distrust of my campaigns. And that usually means that you don't always need it, but I would say a majority of the time we use it because it allows the ads to show quickly rather than waiting until it warms up.
We do it.
Yeah. Can can I just add to that? I saw one of my account managers do this really unorthodox test, and I was like, what the heck are you doing? And he's like, I just thought I'd test it, and then it actually worked. So and he's done it for 1 or 2 accounts now. With kind of the dynamic bidding, he has catch all campaigns, but it has 3 or 4. So he would try down only, up and down, like fixed bid, and see how they all perform. And we've seen some really different results across different accounts. So testing them is probably going to be something to kind of do to see which bidding option is going to work best for you.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see because there's things as far as like strategy, like our tactic cycling, as well as having things run in parallel. So cycling would be things like day partying would be an example of cycling, where you're turning things off at certain times of the day, or you're adjusting the bid high in the morning and low in the afternoon, and that kind of thing. Parallel testing would be things like what you're talking about, George, where you've got multiple campaigns that are addressing the same audience and the same products, but you're using different techniques and seeing, okay, which ones get picked up, which ones actually show how do they perform and how they perform together. And then you've got that's actually pretty common among, like, say, auto targeting groups, where you're trying to you just kind of like you're basically split testing using different campaigns for separate auto targeting groups, and in some cases it works phenomenal, and sometimes it's a train wreck. You just kind of have to be able to read the tea leaves and see and adapt from there based on the situation. But
read the tea leaves. I like that. I like that. You're
Brian, I'm not talking about
your phrase game. I'm telling you, you've been using cheeky and tea leaves. And I'm like, tea leaves, cheeky. I love it. I like it.
I was talking to George too many times.
Add it to my inventory. Read the tea leaves. I'm gonna start using that one on strategy session. How to read the tea leaves. Gonna work. Cool. All right, we got 1 more minute, and we'll try to get through it, and then I'll sound the bell. When it's ready. So sponsored products, product targeting. Product versus category. So I guess, like, which one's better? What do you use them for? Stuff like that.
Oh, that's what I would say. We use both. Category is fantastic for collecting data. Product targeting is fantastic because it's cleaner targeting. We know exactly what we're converting on, what we're showing on, and we can utilize the data for category or for the search term report and reinvest in product targeting.
Awesome. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, round over.
Yeah,
round over, guys.
So yeah, Destiny definitely for both of those. I think that kind of goes back to kind of the mixed misconceptions of ad targeting too. The most most people never get into even testing, let alone understand how it all works. But most brands that we have talked to, at least initially, the way that they've set it up is they basically are targeting their direct competitors in product ads. They're targeting their same product niche, their same subcategory with their category ads, and they stop there and think that's how it's supposed to work. There's like tenfold beyond that as far as like different targeting options, and you can get really, really creative when it comes to the chain of what are related products, where you stop thinking about your product and your competitor product and start thinking more about your audience. What is your audience shopping for? What's in the head of your audience? I know it requires more work, but if you start thinking about that when you're creating some of your ad targeting, you start seeing where there's brand new opportunities that your competitors are not doing, because they're focused on, well, this is my product, I know it. This is my competitor product, I know that, and so that's where I'm going to keep my focus on. They don't have enough time in the day. They don't have the expertise. They're not thinking beyond their own product niche. And yet there's a whole world of Amazon out there that sells products related to other products, or products that complement other products. That's one of the reasons why Amazon rolled out the whole auto targeting group for substitutes and complements, because they know that, but we can replicate that within product and category targeting as well.
That is such a good point, Brian. And I think that's one area we always see is kind of missing. And just to add as well, with category targeting, depending on the products that you sell, sometimes you have some from like really focused categories that just align really well with the products that you have, and other times it's slightly broader. So depending on the product that you have to just do a quick search to see what matches up. But we do look at for a single product, we'll look at 5, 6, maybe up to 7 different categories that we could target, and the broader they are, the lower we put the bids, just to test the waters, and then start to slowly increase it if we're seeing that the numbers are working towards our favor. But just to give one example, we had one account where the bids became so expensive with sponsored products, and they were really kind of just, budgets were set and they weren't moving. So we actually focused more of our attention on the product targeting, and that was able to generate more sales at a fraction of the price, and that was our edge. That gave us enough to take the ACOS from 40% to 25%, and we kind of rode that wave for about 8 months. But we had to come up with something different because everyone else jumped on that wave. So yeah, you always have to kind of mess around and experiment.
Cool. All right, Sean, now you can do your ding.
No.
Ding.
I already did the ding. I'm not doing it again. We already had it happen.
He had his moment.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you
had
everybody
it
for joining us today. I do want to thank each of you who joined on the panel here. Love working with you guys. So it is a pleasure being here once again, and I look forward to round 4, which should be fun. We're gonna have to get gimmicky with that one though. Luchador masks.
Yeah, dude.
No
Sure,
balls.
Amazon has some.
We'll have fun with it. But yes, thank you very much. Let me go around really quick here and just say, like, for those of you who want to contact you, what is what's the best location for them to get a hold of you? Aaron, we'll start with you.
I would say on Facebook. So everyone who signed up had probably seen it on Facebook. So I'm tagged on the post as Aaron Moreno. Just hit me up and DM me.
That works. Awesome. Sean?
Just head on over to ppcamsaccelerator.com.
Okay. Destiny?
Slide in those DMs. Just kidding. Maybe.
Did you say slide? Yeah.
The deals, man. The deals go down in the DM.
Oh my gosh.
Down in the deep.
Yeah, too much of a boomer for that. No. George?
You can, like Aaron said, you can catch me on, I've been tagged, you can find me on that, or you can go to clearads.co.uk, and there's numerous options. I pick up all of the inquiries that come through.
Fantastic. Brent?
Yeah, similar to George, I'm in the same Facebook posts. You can just search my strange last name and probably find me easily doing that. Or just hello@amzpathfinder.com is also routed to me and I think 1 or 2 other people, but we'll get it. And I'll probably be the one to respond.
Okay, cool. Liz?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn or in those Facebook posts that we mentioned. And also if you go to buyboxexperts.com, fill out the contact us form, mention my name, they'll get that routed to me.
Fantastic. Cool. And then if you are interested in reaching me, then of course, this week we're promoting Sponsor Products Academy 3. We're relaunching that. So sponsorproductsacademy.com for the agency. Canopymanagement.com is your best choice. Awesome. Any last comments or?
Pause. Can we all smile for an official picture for our next post so we don't all look?
Yeah. Now that we got screenshot.
You have to share that one though.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's so much better. I'm so excited.
Finally. Now you don't have to overlay. That's so much better. Thank you.
Good idea. Good idea.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks everybody. Been a pleasure again.
Group photo.
Talk to you soon. I look forward to round 4.
Bye.
Awesome.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See you, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Sounds good. All right. See y'all.